Horse games are cursed. That is just a fact of life. If you have not been in the horse gaming world, you will not appreciate how lucky you are that your game is actually being released. That is a rarity for horse games. Starworm Equestrian Mod, or SWEM for short, was a mod that was being developed for Minecraft that was supposed to be the ultimate equestrian mod. However, due to poor management and a sudden change of heart, the mod is now foundering and stands on the brink of simply fading into obscurity, and I am sick and tired of this. It's like Horsetails, Wildshade, Equestrian the Shame. Can we get a break, please? That would be lovely. In today's video, we're going to be taking a deep dive into SWEM's behind the scenes. Ex-modders and ex-devers have very kindly shared their stories, and we're going to be looking at all of them, the history, and ask ourselves just why. The answer is, for those who don't want to watch, essentially mismanagement, sheer arrogance of the owner Hannah, and how that arrogance essentially choked the project and finally sent it to the point of a slow death. We got a lot to cover, but it's best to start at least where it makes sense with the mod itself. However, before we do get into that, I would like to thank Froggy for helping me out with some screens, and all the ex-moderators and ex-developers who decided to contact me. I sincerely appreciate this, and I hope you guys are happy with the video. And of course my Ko-fi supporters for being more awesome than a good Lovecraftian horror game, which is about as rare as a good horse game. I'm not even kidding. Let's get into it. Minecraft, for those of you who might not know, is a survival game from Mahjong Games, which was launched in 2011 and stands as one of the most popular survival games to date. The game is limitless in its application and is often modded or given plugins to players to give wildly different experiences to the base game. The key component to these mods is that they are usually free, mostly because these are being made by fans or passionate people who want to make something fun for Minecraft or aiming to better their skills in development and modding. Now, browsing on CurseForge, a place to upload and share mods for a wide variety of games, including Minecraft, we can see that many of them are free and easily accessible. These mods are usually focused on single-player experiences, whereas if you want to have a server experience, you will have to find a server that hosts the type of plugins or mods you're looking for, which is where equestrian mods and servers come in. Since the inception of horses into Minecraft, tech-savvy equestrians have taken the time to try and turn it into a good horse game. A blocky good horse game, which is why I don't play it. Pinecraft Equestrian being an excellent example of one such server. Equestrifun and Equination are both also long-standing servers with excellent plugins and mods for equestrian gamers. But in 2020, during the lockdown era, our hero Hannah, also known as Alaharan Honor, say that 3 times fast, felt that these were not adequate, and so she started to plan out the SWEM mod on the 17th of May of the same year. Hannah was not much of a modder, by her own admission, so she had to hire people to help her realize her dream. One large part of this dream included Lucy, not a developer, but a horse she had to leave with her parents when she quit her job during lockdown. Now, Lucy was still hers, but she could not afford to keep her close by anymore, so the mod was also a means to finally get her horse back. Yes, this is a very important point to the story, and the slogan for the mod, for horses, for equestrians, for Lucy, was born. Now, Hannah would go on to create a Discord to get a community going, and a few people would join in to help out and get things started. Hannah would very quickly start pushing these couple of members to bring in more members into the Discord. She had a Patreon set up by this point, and it was going very slow. Overall, the mod took time to pick up, but Hannah was very adamant in pushing players to bring in new members and to push people to give her money. Hannah would get a new job on the 29th of August 2020. Despite this, on the 21st of September, she would ask for financial help. She couldn't pay for another dev out of pocket because she had $183 to her name by her own admission. Why she didn't just wait for 9 days to get her paycheck and then look for someone is because apparently she'd already lost her job again. However, 2 donations would roll in on the same day, and the project was saved. Hannah would also host invite contests. However, this would prove to be a double-edged sword, as people would start to complain about spam messages, which is something I could have told her would happen. However, on the 31st of December 2020, they would announce the first release date for the first version of SWEM, 22nd of April 2021. This was met with a lot of excitement, and the supporters were very happy at this point as the mod was going at a steady pace. The support was wonderful. Also, if my voice sounds absolutely awful, it's because I've been sick for 2 weeks. Okay, moving on. It is now a good idea to talk about the 3 versions of the games that were supposed to be released. Version 1 is the base version and the one currently available. It was supposed to have a survival aspect with horses. The survival aspect was a little wonky though for a few reasons. One was that you had to craft your own horse, which was a little odd and took away from the survival aspect. However, this would change with few further updates when they would add the wild horses. The other problem was that you could very easily acquire high-quality armor, which instantly ruined any sort of survival aspect. The reason given was sort of, we want to ensure that everyone can play. The problem is, this killed any sort of challenge. However, this would still be early days, and this would obviously be fixed at some point, so people weren't too unhappy about this. Now, the version 2 of the game would add disciplines, genetics, foals, detailed breeding, more horse breed models, ponies, and draft. And then version 3 would add flight, mythical creatures, alicorns, pegasus, unicorns, etc. In 2021, there would be some interest from the YouTube community, with Just Peachy and even Abigail Pinehaven both making videos about this up-and-coming mod. And also Zap. Sorry for missing you there, buddy. Just Peachy would go on to become their marketing division, often making videos. This new attention would propel them to 4,000 members and over $500 of Patreon income alone. This would not include the extra money that was being sent into Hannah's personal bank account, which was specifically meant for her. According to this lovely post, money sent to Swem went to Swem, money that went to Hannah went to Hannah. However, despite this good fortune, they would miss not one but 2 deadlines, the first being 22nd of April and the second being the mini Swem server, which just never opened. But they promised beta testing applications soon, which at least did come to fruition. However, none of these extensions really concerned the fans, who were beyond supportive of the project. 2021 ended with a message from Hannah that she had found her place and her passion, and that she wouldn't want to be anywhere else. This statement would bite her in the ass. 2022 started with 7,000 members and $750 on Patreon, which meant Hannah could work on the project full-time, according to her. Now, on the 1st of March 2022, Hannah would make an announcement stating that the beta version would finally be available, but it would cost a total of $25. This came out of the blue, and the backlash was pretty mild. No one really minded, and they supported Hannah quite happily. Just a quick addendum here. I was told by one of the people who worked on the project that the beta version was really a very simplified version of what was initially promised. But even despite this, the people were still very supportive of the project and didn't give Hannah a lot of trouble about this. But yeah, this quote-unquote beta version was very simplified in comparison to what they had been promised. From here, the Discord continued to grow, with them hitting 10,000 Discord members in May, and Hannah giving yet another release date, this time the 21st of September 2022. Then, on the 3rd of September 2022, Lucy passed away. This was of course a shock to the community, causing Hannah to remove herself for a few weeks to recover. However, despite this tragedy, they would push on and release Swem on the 21st of September. This would mean that players would now finally play the mod, although there was still no official free Swem Minecraft server, which meant the game was a single-player mode, except for the playing testers who could play on the VIP server. In short, the mod had become openly free to play. However, public servers were not up yet, and it did appear that they were trying to get money back via server possibilities, but yeah, this was something a little different. The work on Swem would begin to slow down, and Hannah would make a post about this, noting that their main dev was being overwhelmed by university. And then the infamous N-word incident happened. In March of 2023, in the EQMCC Discord, which was meant to be a sort of hub for equestrian minecart servers, Hannah was trying to explain that you can't control the N-word usage outside of their server. However, instead of censoring the word, she used both versions of the word openly. Now, this was all said in a private Discord channel specifically for staff members, so it was supposed to possibly sort of stay private-ish? However, shortly thereafter, screenshots of the statements were leaked on the main Discord.
I hear you're a racist now, father!
But Hannah didn't really seem to care about it, until about 3 weeks later. She only then made the announcement when people started talking about it. This would be the first time she would receive honest backlash. Some people even went so far as to say that if she was never called out or the N-word situation was never revealed, she would never even have addressed it and never have apologized. However, despite this extremely long statement, she never took responsibility for the usage of the word and never actually admitted wrongdoing. This is where Discord members started to move away from the project in anger, along with volunteers. Many YouTubers would also stop promoting the mod outright, and so the interest in the project started to wane. Now, from here on out, the updates for the mod slowed, and then on the 28th of August 2023, Hannah would make the announcement that SWEM was shutting down. But the announcement was not very clear. On one hand, she was stating that the work would be slowing, but on the other, she was still encouraging people to donate money, and I quote, "As much as it may hurt to say, SWEM is shutting down. Many of you have been with me since the beginning. Through blood, sweat, and tears, I've given my absolute all to this project for the past 2+ years. Through highs and lows, joys and suffrage. I'm a completely new person than when I started. I have learned all that I am capable of, and I am absolutely proud of what SWEM has become. I never thought my passion project would be this beautiful. Every job gives you two things, income and education. SWEM has given me bare bones income, but it always supplied me with incredible learning opportunities. Well, it hasn't for a while. Since Lucy passed, it has been hard to keep my heart in the same place it was. I simply can't do it. My life has changed since the start. I'm being offered job opportunities. I found the love of my life. My health has improved. My quality of life has improved. I'm with family again. This just isn't the place for me anymore. Look what's been made of what was supposed to be a little test of my skills." I just want to point out that she didn't have any skills. I'm 25 and I have places to go, things to do, people to be with. Simply put, I've outgrown this place and it's time for me to go. The community has been a beautiful thing to see grow all the way from one member to the 20,000 we have. We've created and enjoyed such beautiful things. You've donated to a wonderful project. Of all of us volunteers, I hope from the bottom of my heart that SWEM is enjoyed for years to come. At this point in time, it is an absolute mess. There's a lot of bugs and a lot of problems, and it's a bit of a mess at this point. And they didn't deliver on like half of what they promised. So it's probably not going to be enjoyed for a long time. If we keep gaining income, I'll keep putting it towards development and bug fixes. The project won't shut down completely till we run out of money. Never if need be. Which is kind of where a lot of the people's frustration and confusion is coming from. If you're going to be doing this, then maybe you should just shut down the project completely. But that is not what you're doing. You have decided deliberately to keep this thing going, kind of like on life support. So it's just really frustrating. Everyone's just kind of standing around the bed, slowly watching this thing die. I won't be focusing on SWEM anymore, as I'll be taking one of said jobs and focusing on my life, on living my life away from my computer. I am me though. I can't help but build and create and do things seemingly impossible.
Here's a thought. How about you do the possible before you try the impossible and actually finish a project? That would be nice.
Keep a lookout for my name. I'll pop up again somewhere. I thank you all for such a beautiful thing as this project has been to me. With heartache and with relief, I am happy to accept that my work is done. This is me signing off. For horses, for equestrians, for Lucy. Alright, so yeah, you didn't finish your job though. And like the first question that a lot of people immediately asked was, why didn't she just put it over into someone else, or why didn't she just hand it over to the community? I will be getting into that briefly, but for now, I want to discuss something a little different.
The finances is a big thing that a lot of people actually want me to talk about, but it's an extremely difficult thing to actually discuss. It's a lot of guesswork, and as a result, it is very difficult to determine exactly where all the money went. But here is what we do know. Coffee got around 10,000 coffees. If we take that at $5 per coffee, we get around $50,000 in total. For Patreon, I used this chart. I went ahead and counted up every month they made money, and I came up with a total of $13,000 1,843. The highest I ever went for Patreon was 1,657, more than double the amount that Hannah would need to work from home. So honestly, they were making more than enough. This would also be around this time that they would switch over to coffee, so we do see a huge dip. But yeah, they were making a lot of money. However, we also need to keep in mind that all of this does not include Hannah's personal PayPal. We have no way of knowing how much she made on that as well, but the minimum they probably made on this project was around $63,000. Now, I spoke to someone who had some insights into the finances. They didn't know everything, but here's kind of what I figured out. In total, they spent around $224 a month on hosting a website on servers Discord, Nitro, and Google Drive. We also know that an admin was paid at some point, but we're not sure how much exactly, and that one of the developers was compensated via CurseForge, but another developer was actually paid, I believe, $1,400 for around a year. However, we don't know all of the expenses, and we don't really know how much was spent on the project, nor how much Hannah was making extra on the side. So it's a very difficult situation to kind of, draw a conclusion on. What I can say is they were making more than enough at one point at least, so I'm not sure why Hannah was complaining so much. However, what we can say is they did make a tidy sum, and if anyone has any further insights into these finances, please just let me know. I would be very happy to learn more. So the other issue we have is that most of the people who worked on this project did so voluntarily, meaning that a lot of work was done out of the goodness of people's hearts, and this is kind of where the largest issue of this project actually lies. The development of Swim was interesting to say the least. I'm going to try and tell a few different sides to the development, as I feel there was a lot going on behind the scenes. Overall, the general consensus was that Hannah was very difficult to work with due to her perfectionism and unreasonable deadlines. Essentially, work was constantly sent back over minute details. This, coupled with Hannah having very little knowledge of either modding, block benching, or development, resulted in most likely slowed production and caused people to become very frustrated with her, as one person tells. When I joined as an animator, X, the previous animator who had created the vast majority of the animations you see in the mod today, had quit due to severe burnout, and he too left the Swim server. I was then the only dedicated animator, and shortly after joining, Hannah began to implement the different breed models. Unfortunately, her blockbench modeling knowledge was not that great, and in creating the new model, she broke all the previous animations. My job then became redoing all of X's work with a deadline of July at one point. The new model was only made in March to April. Alongside that stressful deadline, Hannah was constantly praising the previous work that X had done, asking why if I could fix the animations instead of remaking them fresh. But due to how severe the damage to the pivots was, fixing them would take a lot longer. It was disheartening to put in so much work to the animations and always being told how much better X's work had been. It gets a little worse though. According to a few sources, Hannah would tweak work and then claim it as her own. And I quote, "Hannah definitely had a sense of inflated ego in that regard and used her own work as standard despite not specializing in any of the fields she controlled." Z left shortly after, because modeling for Hannah meant putting in a lot of effort to follow her specifications for her to take the model, tweak it, and claim it as her own. The Swim horse is, as it stands now, not her own work and was instead a collaboration of different staff members, but credit goes solely to Hannah. End quote. Furthermore, as a volunteer, you were expected to work basically a part-time job with no pay. Or rather, the pay would be perks in-game, which of course will not be realizing now. You were assigned tiers depending on how much work you did, and those who worked more got more perks, which is even worse when you think about it. People who put in a lot of work are now just plumb out of luck because Hannah has now decided to go live life. And then we have the nail in the coffin for the developers, which came in the form of Mothfett being fired for very little good reason. In Mothfett's own words, "I wasn't getting paid because I had joined the project as a volunteer and junior dev. I knew she had talked about compensating our longtime lead dev Legend, and I was completely on board with that. He had built the majority of the mods from the ground up and definitely deserved it. The project had had a couple of other devs fleetingly, and as far as I was aware, they had never been paid either. I fully believed that she was never actually going to pay me, and only said that she would when she confronted me in order to make me feel bad or guilty. Quares, the dev she hired on, 100% has more modding experience than I do, and had we both been paid, I would definitely say that he would deserve a higher wage than I."
It was the fact that she had hired him without so much as a message to me. I was really the only one working on the mods at the time, as Legend was on a break for school, and she had me working on 3 mods at once. I was pulling nearly 20 to 30 hours a week trying to get things done by her deadline of Christmas, a deadline that was not well communicated on top of 8-hour school days in a very physically and mentally demanding program and an almost 2-hour each way commute. For her to hire, pay another dev and announce it in a public channel demanding I hand in everything I was working on as if I was a truant grade school kid without so much as a conversation or even a heads up first and zero indication that I would possibly be paid also was a huge slap in the face. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I would be freaking out if that happened to me. However, for those of you interested, here are some highlights of the argument between Hannah and Mothhead, which followed after Hannah had made the announcement. At Mothhead, we are commissioning a dev to try to get LM and DM done by Christmas. Can you please push your changes and update me and the docs on what's left? Mothhead. Oh yeah, no, that's cool. Not like I've put in a ton of work and countless hours only for you to pay someone else to finish it. DM is almost done. I'll update them when I have time after classes today. Glad to know you value my time so highly. Actually, you know what? Why should I bother? I'm sure he can figure it out. It's not that complicated. If you're paying him, I'm sure he'd love the extra work. At this point in time, I believe Mothfet's developer tag was removed and they asked what the heck was going on, and of course Hannah replied. Concerning your messages in SWLM, SWDM channel earlier today and a lot of other actions over time, it's time we have a talk. A long talk where you don't yell at me or think you have the right to challenge every decision I make, but one where you sit and listen. You've done a lot of talking, challenging, criticizing, sniping, and hypocritically demeaning a lot of people, and I think we need to come to terms with exactly where we stand. I've been quiet for a lot of this, not because of being incorrect or because I don't have my team's backing, but because your ability to change given critique seems to be very low. That's pot calling kettle black. Whether you can't or don't want to, that's your deal, but it's obvious it's not happening. Your indignant replies to tend to be self-righteous, and you hurt me even if no one intended harm at any or even made an action to be considered to able to harm without considering did I do something wrong or how do they feel or what did I do to make them respond that way. That was a weird sentence. That's your choice of behavior, but I'm done being silent. You can scream and cry and blame me for this message that I'm forcing you out, and that's fine. Your emotions and your skill I don't possess. You can and will be replaced if your behavior retains its level of intolerable. I don't want to replace you because you have a friend group here and you seem happy to be here on the normal day. I don't know what your in real life is like, but given you seem to spend all your time online with us, I worry for your mental, emotional, and social health to lose your entire volunteer job, hangout place, and friend group all in one go. I'm assuming, given past experience, that you're going to take this as patronizing. However, I urge you to suppress that. I actually have to stop for a moment. It's like, wow. Again, I never mean harm, and I'm messaging you for you, not for me or Swem or anyone else. However, that does not mean I will be gentle. I'm going to be frank with you, because I think you need to hear it, and hear it straight. As much as it hurts, I'm talking for the vast majority of us who confirmed backing. Whether they're willing to be honest about that if you ask is another thing, but most of all, they are non-confrontational, which is why I'm the only one to come to you like this. It is my job to speak for them when they feel they can't speak for themselves. Enough prologue, now to the main bits. Like, the amount of arrogance in these statements, I can't even begin to express. This, I'm sorry, but it's bizarre. Hannah then proceeded to drop a 3,000-word message to Mothhead, essentially tearing this person down from the ground up, bringing up a lot of issues that they had with them, but I'll go through some of this. But before I do that, I would like to remind everyone that Mothhead was not actually being paid. They were a volunteer, helping out on a project and a person that they believed in, and this is how they were being treated. First out the gate, what started the downtrend was challenging my design decisions in Dev Channel. While every volunteer and player has the right to question my choices, and I welcome them to do so, what you did was challenging. You spoke to me like I needed to be on the defensive, and it was my responsibility to report to you.
Then you were on dev team for a measly 2 weeks. I had been on the project for 2.5 years, and Legend over a year. You spoke as if equal standing, and as if you even had somewhat of the pull to be able to pull something together that was out of control. When I mentioned I have every right to be concerned and you don't have said pull, you flipped out upset because how dare I say such a thing? How dare I state fact that you're not of equal standing to the owner and senior dev who built the entire mod himself? This is kind of the trend that the entirety of this post goes. I'm going to leave it up for people to read because it is absolutely insane, the amount of anger and bitterness. Now, she goes into a lot of details about things that happened, things that upset her, things that upset other people, why this person was not ranked up to a cavalier. I think that's the way you pronounce it. And it's the thing that I find very disturbing is if you are a proper manager, you should actually be addressing these things as they are happening. You should not leave something to grow to the extent that you can fill a 3,000 word, document and then tell the person what you were having issues with. These things should have been addressed immediately in order to avoid it to escalating. But because it was never addressed, it continued to escalate, and this person didn't even know that there were so many issues. She continues into another section, adding on to toxicity, mentioning to hide things in code is an absolute disrespect and threat. You know it, I know it. I've mentioned this before, but you didn't seem to get how seriously angry I was and still am. Even as a joke, trying to hide something in my project that you volunteer for is completely out of line. So in this section, Hannah kind of responds directly to some of the stuff that Mothfett said in her message. So Mothfett said, "Oh, Yona, that's cool. Not like I've been putting in a ton of work and countless hours only for you to pay someone else to finish it." Her response to that was, "If LMDMPM was done 13 days ago as scheduled, we wouldn't be having to shell out hundreds of dollars to an emergency dev we have no choice to hire. Trust me, I would love not to have to spend donation funds, but all progress on SWIM in the public eye has stopped dead in its tracks, and we can't afford to lose their faith or be called a scam." But that's what the funds are there for. For the first thing is you're supposed to be using it to, develop SWIM, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. The other problem that I have with this statement is it is once again a volunteer. So, if you're going to hire volunteers, you're going to have to understand that it takes time. And Mothfett did explain that they were very busy with university, so it's part of the threat. If you're going to have volunteers and you're not going to use the money that you're getting in order to shell it out to people who can actually do the work, you're going to have to be patient. So the next thing that Mothfett said was, actually, you know what, why should I bother? I'm sure he can figure it out. It's not that complicated. And Hannah's response is, "You're letting your emotions take over for the 9th time in public. All of this work for a project we all love, you're going to let temporary emotions make you act childishly. Pulling said work you already completed and are donating is in bad taste, selfish and simply unprofessional." And this entire message is not absolutely 100% unprofessional. It's again pot calling kettle black. She's very good at this. So Mothfett said, "If you're paying him, I'm sure he'd love the extra work." And she responds, "This comment is the most sarcastic of them all. The disrespect you seem to feel you can show is absolutely out of line. You know that would be costing them headache they didn't deserve and costing us donation money we are hoping to save up for emergencies and SWIM investments for the sake of the project. But isn't this technically an emergency? You're having an emergency, you should use the funds to pay the dev." The other thing is, this is an absolutely sarcastic comment, and this thing of the disrespect you seem to feel you can show, again, comes into that absolute arrogance that this person seems to be portraying. So there's just one little part I want to also touch on. Now, to really tell you something you didn't know, if you didn't act like a petulant child in public channels and pull your work, this would have gone different. If instead you politely gave your work you had been promising for weeks, updated the docs you were supposed to update weeks ago, and went into my DMs to quietly ask to be reconsidered for payment, I would have said yes. See, if you can hold yourself together for just long enough to act professionally and investigate right after I checked the work you turned in, you were going to be offered a paid contractor position too, whether you DM'd to ask to get paid or not. Despite all of the above issues and gripes and irritations, I wasn't going to hire outside devs and ignore the fact that you worked many an hour and you're as dirt poor as I am. Granted, you weren't told this before, but given the above, it all hinged
on just once. If you handled it well, it would have ended well. It was a 25 to 75% chance that you were going to either recognize the situation and your fault in it, or again blame me for your shortcomings. So this whole thing is absolutely manipulative. She probably would not have paid this person. If she had planned to pay this person, she would have DM'd them and let them know, hey, look, we're going to be hiring a different dev for now, but don't worry, we're going to be planning on paying you as well. We just need to get someone to get the work done quickly. For now, though, just be patient and just give us the stuff so that we can move on. There's a lot of nicer ways it could have been stated, but the way that Hannah handled this was absolutely unprofessional and ugly. And just if you had problems with this person, you should have spoken to them long before this blowout. This is just, ugly. So another point that I want to make is she says this line here, I've said multiple times, adults don't confront other adults because they are adults. They simply go quiet and walk away. This is absolutely not true. Adults are adults because they have the mental capacity and are able to confront someone and tell them, hey, look, I'm upset with something. If you ever have been in a work situation, you will understand it's very easy for someone to walk up to you, tell you, hey, I'm not happy with the way you're doing things, let's do it somewhere else. This is just, once again, I'm saying this a lot, but it's so ugly and so unprofessional. The final line that she has here is, your response will heavily weigh onto my decision of going forward. Please take time to respond how you wish. It's so threatening and passive-aggressive. This person has absolutely no self-awareness. So obviously Mothfett was extremely upset by this. They apologized. They said that they need to get a level head to write up a proper response. But they do apologize. They said that they wanted to do the DM for a Christmas surprise. But you can clearly see that Mothfett is very upset by this entire situation, which is right. I mean, these things were never brought to her attention for a very long time, so obviously anyone would be extremely upset. And then finally, Hannah says, all material was shared with admins and a vote was held. We have decided that there is no longer and will not be a place for you here at SWEM. Reasonings given for behavior covered maybe 10%, the rest remaining unexcusable. Your time is well appreciated and credits will be respected, of course, without question. I wish you well and good health. I'm sorry to hear that, Hannah. I hope you find and get the help you need. Best of luck for the future with SWEM. I wish you and the team nothing but success. And then she says something which I think deserves a medal. You want to entertain the idea of speaking to a psychologist about the possibility of narcissistic personality disorder. That isn't meant to be an insult. It's not your fault. Your brain may be wired differently, but I do genuinely worry for your health and future if you don't get proper help. The signs are there, Hannah, and the evidence lies in the way you speak and act. Not always with ill intent, mind you, but you're not the martyr that you perceive yourself to be. I'd like you to consider them. Your quality of life and personal relationships could be so much healthier for everyone involved. I absolutely agree with this statement from Mothfett. I do believe Hannah is possibly just plain and all narcissistic. The way she responds when she feels threatened is bizarre and very over the top. But yeah, good for you, Mothfett. Just get a little jab in there. But the entire story is a very sad one of betrayal and just shows how bitter Hannah is when things aren't going her way. However, another creator had even more to chime in. Just Peachy, who had actively promoted the game and was their marketing division, said this. I started volunteering for Hannah in late 2020 and at first was very hopeful. The community was small, welcoming and underdeveloped to the point where I could see it grow, which was a big deal for me. Coming from past toxic communities, I was finally excited to be part of something great. Soon after I started, I began to notice the inconsistencies within the project and within Hannah. Her ego outdid her own leadership. She would let her own toxic mindset lead others, meaning she'd look at how she could outdo so many other mods or servers than making her own unique experience. My job, which was helping with marketing, consisted of helping with creating content and managing media. Hannah attempted to bring on people to help, but nobody really stayed, and I could see why. Volunteer applications went unanswered or rejected for poor reasons. Things were set behind backs when nearly all of us were adults and working for free, and it soon felt like a sinkhole of lies, and the image of a passionate horse mod was now overshadowed by something evil. Almost all of my projects, which I spent hours on, were sent back to me with edits to be made. Some understandable, others tedious and outrageous.
Things like font changes, centering text that wasn't centered, high quality clips re-rendered with hours wasted. It became a full-time job for me, balancing the media and also in real life projects. Eventually, I saw a lot of my hard work go uncredited, or ideas to help promote get changed to something completely opposite of my suggestions. After I departed from the team, which wasn't an easy decision after me being there for a little over 2 years, I was shown screenshots of things said about me whilst I was on the team behind my back. Throughout my time on the team, there were many things said about me that uprooted all of the happy memories I had with my time there. Whilst I'm grateful for my time there and the things I've learned, a lot of the problems could have been avoided. I do hope that all of the volunteers included can heal, as they shared their work with a passion that was ultimately taken advantage of and twisted to something so much worse. Peachy really summed up the entire situation. The fact of the matter is, Hannah just handled this entire project very poorly. Now, this could be due to narcissism, her ego, or whatever it could be, but we see the end result of it. She simply shrugged off the project and moved on with her life, because at the end of the day, that wasn't really the important part, never the project. It was really only ever about Hannah. And that's kind of where projects usually fail. When the focus is wrong, it should always be on the project, never on you. Now, this wasn't the only instance of people being unhappy with Hannah's management. Riley, a user who had worked on this project as a volunteer for a while, would write up a letter of resignation when she felt unhappy with the situation in Swim, and I quote, "Recently though, it's felt like the staff is getting further and further apart. Staff are left out of the loop of important talks, not to mention some rather rude trash talking about other staff members behind their backs, which I don't think should ever be common practice. I'm finding it harder and harder to trust staff. What I do or what I say is going to be talked about and ragged on behind my back. It's like we're all in high school again. Clicks here, clicks there, and gossip all around." There was little accountability within staff that hasn't been taken when several circumstances arise where it should have been. Lower staff were not informed of important circumstances that they needed to, and left to fend for themselves. They were often bombarded with messages from people in Discord and left with no answers to give them, which left for more messages and accusations and more problems in the long run. This leads back to transparency. Calls no longer felt welcoming like they did at the start. It feels like everyone is out to get you. It used to be fun to get into calls, work, and spend time together. I guess it's because of the clicks. You get left out or cast aside because you aren't working on the same task anymore. On top of that, whatever work I did felt underappreciated, simply because it was a task nobody wanted and left sitting there, and I would pick it up to finish it. It was never valued as a task that eventually needed done. You were always compared to others who could do the job, not against standard. It was also brought up as a collective effort at least once back in December, but nothing ever came of it. It was brought up again when Peachy left, but again it was brushed under the rug. Then talking behind the back started up and started getting rather excessive. It was never praise or concern, it was rude. Thank you for the opportunity and friendships I have made while working as a staff for Swim. Hannah did not take kindly to this and of course responded in her obligatory accusatory tone. So I am not going to be reading this entire thing, but it's once again an entire blowout by Hannah. Just pure vitriol, just so arrogant, just so angry. It's very bizarre, and it's once again the situation of she cannot stand the idea of receiving any sort of criticism or receiving any sort of pushback. And it's once again handled extremely unprofessionally. I'll be leaving these up for you guys to read. So I'm going to be reading some parts of this because there was a response made to this particular post that Hannah responded to with Riley. So here's some of the highlights. "Your issue isn't with the staff or team or how we function here, it is with me. I also know that this being public is an attempt at poaching staff, as has been reported a goal of yours." Just to be clear, Hannah is specifically talking about Peachy's server, which was Peachy's Pixel Place. "No, I do not care to continue this in DMs. We are not friends anymore. Haven't been for a long time given the way you've treated me, so I have no interest in reconciliation. Why should I trust you and talk to you and tell you everything when I know full well exactly where you're taking it, especially to people so toxic that they writhe in the filth of hating other people. You're getting what you gave and there is no innocence here. There is no equal handling of a situation because I'm the owner. Therefore, I have to be power hungry, money hungry, prideful, and who knows what else people label me as. People expect the owner to be corrupt, so I can't resolve issues quickly and easily like I would if I didn't have that role. You weren't cast aside because work, it was because of the list of actions above." Whew. You weren't being compared to others and not standard. I was trying to politely tell you that your work was valued, would be used and paid for. Despite many jobs I paid you in points for, despite me completely redoing them myself because they weren't even close to standard. But they weren't up to standard, so they would likely be replaced in time. I was trying to not blindside you if they were replaced. So again, I come back to the previous point. If someone's work is so bad that you need to redo it, that is the point that you take them, put them aside and say, hey, look, I'm not happy with the way things are going. How about we try something different? That is the way actual adults handle situations. They don't leave it and then explode. That is highly unprofessional and very childish. She continues, this started after Peachy left? You mean months after the trash talk server, stealing of my processes, and horrible statements made about me that are so false it's sickening. Leaving wouldn't make it better. The damage was done, and as long as you keep poisoning the well, it would never be washed away. All of the above was a vile build-up, but no striking reasons to fire. You didn't deserve it in a professional sense, no matter how I felt about the toxicity leaking in towards me. So it wasn't done. Again, you should have spoken to Riley if you were having this many problems. Highly unprofessional. It's like a mantra at this point. To the staff reading this, I am sorry this was made public. This was posted publicly for reasons I expect to be sour. Your relationship with me, with Swim, to distrust me and to have you leave here to a competing server. If you want to poison the well publicly instead of handling personal matters personally, then so be it. If you had handled it personally beforehand, this wouldn't have happened. If you had addressed situations and issues, it wouldn't have happened. You are a very, very bad owner and bad manager. I see this as standing up for myself, as I've had enough of people who have bad intentions abusing social politeness in hopes I won't fight back. Does anyone else feel she's extremely paranoid? Because I feel like she's extremely paranoid. But anyway, so this was Hannah's response to this whole situation with Riley resigning. And then Peachy, who this entire situation is actually about, they were actually talking about the Peachy server, responded because these posts got back to her, and then she responded to Hannah and said, "Hi Hannah, I wanted to reach out to you personally as I was sent some concerning screenshots from someone within your team. It was not Riley, as she did tell me she was leaving, so I ask that whilst I'm saying this, you do not target anybody. Firstly, the words you spoke in light of my team was entirely inappropriate. From the beginning, my server has always been for members only, and I was planning it before your VIP server even released, but was in the dark about it. The poaching comment was unnecessary. The only time I asked someone to be part of my team was X and Y, and I recently dismissed them due to scheduling and some other conflicts. The only time we spoke about Swim team was in processing the incidents that occurred, and it was for a short while before I realized that speaking of them only made the situation worse, and only brought up bad memories for me and the others. As you said in your reply, this isn't one-sided. I have heard some pretty nasty things from some old friends that were on the team after I left, and I always sorta wondered if it was a truthful repeat of what you said, or them attempting to make it sound worse. Second, I am not competing, nor am I attempting to compete with you. I do not have a team like yours, and I never claim to. My team has worked hard alongside me to bring this project to life, and all I ask is that you respect it the same as I have respected yours. If you want to view me as competition, that is up to you, but I ask you respectfully to not include your staff in the idea that my project is competition. Third, poison. I did not ask Riley to put that in your chat, and the words poisoning the well were very poorly aimed. I have not done anything purposefully to make you or your team suffer, and if you think I have, then I would be more than happy to speak about it privately as adults. Just want to say, yes, this is exactly how you should be handling it. If you're an adult, you will be able to handle it like an adult. I have never asked any of my friends who still remain on the staff team to say anything or cause problems to rough up the competition. I quote, I do not own them and I will not claim them. Their comments are on them unless it is made in the name of my project or business. Fourth and final, I do not plan to speak about anything publicly unless it's spoken with my name first. Any public statements I have made have been professional and very specific to prevent any attacking of the team, because I do continue to respect and talk to some of the team members. All I ask is that you please keep the idea of my project and team respectful, as I am finding it difficult to do the same. I cannot and will not force you to think differently, as I hope you do that on your own. But I hope you hear my words and sincerity as I am attempting to be respectful. I have worked hard, as have you and your team, to make a space for myself in this world for the people I love and care about. And it doesn't feel great when someone questions the space with words like competition, poached, and poison. Thank you for reading. Hannah would not get back to her, and this is kind of where the situation ends. I will say though that I can completely understand. Peachy and Hannah were pretty good friends at one point, so it should have been pretty shocking for Peachy to find these types of comments from Hannah. It's just very bizarre again for me. It shouldn't be that difficult to contact someone and speak to them. It is something that should be done between friends at the very least, which is something that Hannah very quickly throws away in favor of her own ego. From these statements and responses, reactions and handling of situations, the project was not handled at the best. However, to be absolutely fair, many people did support and defend Hannah, saying that although she had harsh deadlines, she had a lot of passion for the project and she really did care. But I had a chance to actually chat with Hannah herself, and I will let you guys decide how you feel about her responses. I'm going to run this one a little bit off the cuff in order just to give my own responses and to keep it a little lighter. Here we go. So I first sent a message which went, "Hey Hannah, I saw that Swim is going to shut down. It's a sad day for a lot of people. To be absolutely open, I'm planning on making a video about this, but before I do, I would like to ask you some questions. There are a lot of stories and rumors running around regarding why it's shutting down. I would just like to clarify a few things. Let me know and thanks." She responds with, "I heard you were looking for me. I heard a few people were attacking Swim and my character, so I knew it was only a matter of time before you contacted me. What questions do you have?" Quite a few. So we go back a little bit back and forth. I ask her about the finances, which didn't really go anywhere and was absolutely fair, as it's a bit of a difficult one to answer. So here's the first question that I would like to read out. If we consider the situation as it stands now, your post essentially boiled down to, "I have a job now, so I want to go and do that. People feel this is an abandonment of a project. Why did you abandon it?" She essentially just responds with, "Every job gives you two things, incomes and education. Swim has given me bare bones income, but it always supplied me with incredible learning opportunities. She has places to go and things to do. Simply put, I've outgrown this place and it's time for me to go." So this was essentially her response to that. So then I say, I will follow up with the following question. You've outgrown it. The people who put money and time into it did not. Why will you not sell and or hand the project over to people who are still passionate about it? And her response is, "I've been dirt poor for 3 years, sometimes so bad I was eating peanut butter on tortilla that day's meal or a cup of dried mashed potatoes. I've been abused relentlessly by people constantly bashing my ability, my work and my love for my project. And now my health is better, I'm with my family again. I can get even a part-time job that pays me better than Swim does with less than 1/10 of the abuse. Stress and time work for triple the income. I found the love of my life. They may love my mod, but I love myself more than to be trampled for the rest of my life. My life is better now, and the money was spent to the best of my ability, and I want to live life now. I have a right to do so."
What's that? I think it's the sound of no one caring.
So then she finally responds to my original question, and here we go. So she says, "I will never sell. I wanted to make Swim such a success that I could buy Lucy a home in a real stable. I can't imagine giving it away either. Those who have worked with me every single day for 2+ years have confirmed that no one can do my job like me. To give it away would be to watch it fall apart." This is like where I'm going to go in with the narcissism and arrogance. This is beyond arrogant and narcissistic. I've been offered an undetermined dollar amount, any amount to keep Swim developing. I don't know how much that would be, but we're shut down completely. It's not as easy as flipping a switch back. Admins are looking for other work. Volunteers have said their goodbyes. I've shut down many of our services resources. Again, it's very easy to get that stuff back up. It should take about a week to get everything going again, maybe 2 weeks just to get a couple of people. It's really not that big of a deal. My heart is moving on and my life needs to progress. It's no secret that Swim has been holding me back from life, actively holding me down as I painstakingly and relentlessly worked to deliver the best I could. No one told you to do this, you decided to do this by yourself. I don't know how I could stay on, especially since all staff have been let go. Major progressions need staff we didn't have in the first place. I don't know if I could consider remaining on, even if it's just a side gig. A lack of income on all fronts is one of the largest reasons we've shut down. But shutting down was never a cash grab either. If I remain
on and get paid to do it, I feel it would be a like reopening, as if the shutdown was a lie, except in a considerably worse place without volunteers to help. But you didn't actually shut down because you're keeping it open and accepting and still accepting donations. So you're lying here, you're not shutting down, you're still accepting donations, so you're still keeping it as a side gig for some reason or another. We have had thieves try to steal our work before, and I protected viciously on behalf of Lucy and the other volunteers who donated their work. Open source is a threat to that protection. It's being considered, but under LGPL maybe someday in future once the dust settles. It's again that arrogant, like you can just give it to someone or like sell it, make a quick buck out of it and move on, and just let the people who have put time, patience and money into it actually get something out of it. Oh, is it going to be a long one? We move kind of into the Patreon situation. Why didn't she shut it down? She essentially says that they didn't want someone to copy the page and just make money off of it. As I said, that is extremely difficult to do. So I kind of did some research into this. There's very little information about making fake accounts and then taking money that is essentially meant for someone else. But it is absolutely against Patreon policy, so if these types of things happen, they can actually be immediately reported. So Patreon is very aggressive against these types of things. It's just very bizarre to be so paranoid about this. Now, to be fair, it's not something that can't happen, but it's not that likely from what I've seen. And I am honestly just getting the suspicion Hannah is just extremely paranoid in this regard. Just wanted to touch up on that. I couldn't find much about it, but yeah, it's not something that happens a lot that Patreon pages are made like this. It seems to be a rarity. So she's literally being paranoid about something that most likely would never have happened. So it's pretty random. I asked them about pause billing, which is a function they could have used. Apparently you have to keep pause billing doing it every month, but in that case you should have just shut it down and taken away the perks and told people to go over to Ko-Fi. Now this is kind of where the conversation goes a little strange, but I say to her, oh well, then it should have rather have been cancelled entirely so that people didn't continue to donate. Just one more thing, why aren't you just taking a break and coming back later? So her response is, that's your opinion. Possibly referring to the, you could have just cancelled it. Not mine. If they really wanted to that bad, I will not stop them. And I'd rather people not get defrauded by a fake account that would be set up probably the same week if I shut down Swim's Patreon Ko-Fi down. No, that would not happen. I plan to still do tidbits here and there if I can with my own paycheck. If there's enough in the account to pay for another dev day from people who still have a little hope, then I'm going to use it just like they intended. So you're stringing on people's hope. That's wonderful. Another dev day, it's not my responsibility to stop the public if they wish to donate, even if they know it might not be used for a while. It's their responsibility if they choose to donate to cancel. I am not their accountant, and I think it my duty to respect their donations, to putting it in the project where possible. Humans have every right to do and to assist that hope. So then she responds, well, she's not coming back. So here's what she responded. You want to know? Because I am damn sick of being audited by people who have accomplished nothing. Try to destroy something beautiful to feel important. Question my intuition and judgment on every turn despite phenomenal product produced. Challenge my character and deface my name. I am sick of giving my heart, my soul, and all my love to those who consistently spit in my face. Fine, I'm done. I have a better life waiting for me that my family is begging me to live. One where I can go out to eat and buy new clothes and not be locked to my computer for 16-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week. I'm done. I love those who were positive and sweet and trusted me just like I proved they could. And I hope they enjoyed every animated pixel of Swim every minute they can. No, they couldn't trust you because you proved that they couldn't trust you because you just cancelled the entire project. They helped give me just enough of what I needed to go the extra miles I could, but the road ends here. I will respect donations till they stop 100%, till the hope dies. So again, you are exploiting people's hope in order to get money out of them, despite the fact that you have decided to move on. This is messed up, like messed up. I know what Swim just stopped short of. So much the public doesn't even know we had in the work. Shutting down Swim is killing my dreams too, but it must be done. I refuse to be routinely punished for being the very best human I try to be. So it's all about you. It's not about the project. It's not about the people who put in all the time. It's all about you. It's all about you. You're the one that is the most important little jewel in this entire situation. No, you're not. No, you're not. People don't give a damn about you, Hannah. People care about the project. I'm sorry to say. But the reason why you became popular wasn't because of your personality, or how nice you were, or how horrible you were. The reason why people, quote-unquote, liked you was because you were producing a product that they liked. that they wanted to see come to fruition. That's the only reason people cared. And sorry, something else. You say in that one post you are possibly going to start another project in the future. Why in the world would anyone trust you ever again? You just blackened your name in the community. Blackened? Excuse me? Like the only thing I can ever accomplish in my life is to serve these specific people? I am a highly capable individual. If I choose to close this chapter and open another, I have every right to do so. They do not own me. And then I respond with a highly capable individual who couldn't finish a project because it was too difficult. And then she says, what do you not get about 16-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week, not being able to afford food or shoes? What do you not get about 4 to 5 months I cried every single night from stress trying to do my best?
I think it's the sound of no one caring.
I respond with, I'm sorry, but you say over and over again how awful people were to you. Here's the thing, that's part of being online, part of being a game developer, of working on a project that starts out as an idea. And then I respond with her, and yes, blackened. If you try anything under your name, people will recognize you and they will remember you as the person who abandoned a project for very flimsy reasons. And then she says, I broke no promise. I says, yes, you did. The second you made the promise of making a game and you didn't, that was a promise broken. And not what promise, one that asked for money. And I said to her, give it to someone who wants to do this project justice. And her response was, no one can. We've already tried. No one can do my job. No one wants my job. And then I said to her, prove it. Prove it that no one can do it. Which she won't do. She says that I didn't promise a game. I worked on something I loved and they wanted to love it with me. No, if that was the case, then you would not have taken money. You took money, which meant that you are being held accountable for that money. You're being held accountable for the fact that you are abandoning a project like 1/3 way through for very flimsy reasons. And then her final thing, what she says that kind of riled me up. None of you own my skill, my blood, or my project. They got exactly what they paid for. The money was used to the best of my abilities till it ran out. They got exactly what they paid for and not a penny more or less. No, they didn't. They got not what they wanted, they got 1/3 of what they wanted. And then I say to her, oh, button up and stop this. And I say to her, your arrogance is overwhelming, Hannah. It is terrifying. I'm starting to realize why this project failed. Goodbye. And then at that point, we kind of blocked each other. So that is my entire conversation that I had with her. It really riled me up badly, as you can see. I will leave it up here. You can read it through if you want to. I'm not going to be hiding anything. And yeah, by this point, I really was tired of this. So what can we make of this? What I see from the outsider's perspective is a person who was clearly far too arrogant for her own good. As the project's fame and size grew, the arrogance only intensified, which had a knock-on effect on the people working on the project. Those that believed in Hannah and supported her were all treated well. Anyone who dared contradict or called her out was quickly shot down and attacked. The perfectionism created a bottleneck for the project, resulting in work often being pushed back and deadlines being missed. Through these actions, the project suffered, and the bitterness and frustration from both volunteers and workers intensified to the point where Hannah decided she wasn't in the mood for all the problems she's caused anymore and bailed. But unfortunately, the end of the result of this is just another knock for Horse Games, another knock for another project that went down the tube due to burnout passion. Whatever Hannah said, that is really the crux of it, and a danger a lot of these passion projects run. When a game is being made by a company, we know a product must be procured for contracts to be fulfilled, salaries are paid and expectations must be met. But when a game, or mod in this case, is being developed by a small team of passionate people, the chances for passion to burn out is an unfortunate reality. There are no expectations, not actual signed contracts to be fulfilled, nothing to hold these creators accountable for their actions. However, a sort of contract was broken. I told Hannah that she broke a promise, the promise to produce a functioning mod. That she opted out of that promise and is now going on with her life and holding people onto a line of hope in order to ensure she makes more money out of the project because she really just wants the money and she really just doesn't want to put in the effort. By that definition, she broke a written contract with the people who paid money for something to be delivered and wasn't. But unfortunately, we have to circle back to the risks we run when we're giving money to strangers for a possibility of something we might want. All we can really do is remember people like Hannah and make a point of steering clear when she ever comes up with a new project. And always be cautious who you back.